right, so in GitHub, go to blacksheep CRM, enterprise-a-gogo, and you will find instructions how to install this utility. So we are doing something a bit out of the ordinary. We are going to, well, first of all, install that utility, which is free and completely void of any warranty that it works for you. But it's a showcase for actually automating, using the REST API of the Cloud Gateway to automate bootstrapping an enterprise setup. So find your SMC folder, it's under Siebel webroot in the external application container, create a new folder there, and copy the content of the zip file into that folder. So the instructions are on GitHub, and you find all the necessary links in the video description. So all of the zip file content goes into that new folder, which is a subdirectory of SMC. And now we can make sure AI Tomcat is started, which it is on our machines, and open that auto-deploy HTML file. So you go to your Tomcat root, and we have to acknowledge the unsafe connection here, self-signed certificate. But eventually the Tomcat is running, so we can go further to Siebel/SMC. SMC is operational, but we don't log in here. We go right to the custom folder we created and auto-deploy. Actually, it's called Siebel_auto-deploy HTML. So that runs the enterprise-a-gogo experiment. Again, make sure that you understand what this is doing. Watch the video first. So you can enter all the parameters for your future enterprise here. Anything you would enter in the SMC, but goes into one page. So understand the parameters by using the tooltips. And we make sure we have everything according to what we entered in prior steps in the prior videos. Our Siebel version here is 22.4, and it's a DR development environment. So the database information is fine. The index table space is not fine, so data table space, okay. So you see these sections in the parameters. Gateway comes next. Make sure you have the correct FQDN for the machine name and the correct port for the Gateway Tomcat future TLS port and future Zookeeper port. The enterprise will just keep the name, and we need a primary file system. So now is a good time to establish a share on the machine for that file system, future file system folder we have under Siebel FS. So let's go to properties and sharing and create a share for, well, it's a Sandbox machine, so feel free to create a share for everyone if you will. Again, your mileage will vary here, so we have a share. Let's test it real quick. So that's 2 backslashes, FQDN \fs. That should, well, gives us access to the folder, and so we can use that path as the primary file system for the enterprise. And now the Siebel server, there will be one Siebel server defined. Server 1 is just a defined name. We can specify the component groups to initialize on that server. Don't choose too many. The port's fine. Languages we want to deploy is, in our case, German and ENU, comma separated. And the components to set to manual start, we can choose this list as a starting point, and let's just edit it a little bit. Just adding For example, the German versions of these object managers. These object managers will be set to manual start, so they don't start up with the Siebel server and waste valuable time. They will start up during the Siebel server deployment though, so we can't change that, but they will be set to manual after that. Okay, so make sure you have that comma-separated list of component alias names. You might want to look that up, to look those names up. So the German EI object manager will be manual too. And we copy-paste that back into the Siebel server section. Now the AI section, let's call the AI1, and we can specify up to 8 application definitions. So call center ENU, that's the 2 names for the URL and the object manager name. And we add call center for German, for example. So that goes into the AI profile, and the AI will be deployed using that profile. And last but not least, the migration application it will create as well. Settings are fine. We keep no package location, so you will use the file system, and it will create a migration connection to the current environment. We call that connection DR here. So enterprise-a-gogo takes care of a lot of stuff. So you can click save and save that configuration you typed in. That you have to copy it, or it's actually in your clipboard, so you can save it as a text file or JSON file, if you will. And you might want to do that for later when you have to refresh your browser, it goes back to defaults. You can use the import button to import that configuration. So it's quite simple, but effective enough. So let's name that ENT224. Okay. Then step 2 is verify. So it connects to, or tries to connect, and it says it can't find anything. This is fine. So this is a unbootstrapped environment. And now I just make sure I'm restarting the Tomcats. That's because it's a really fresh installation, and the Tomcats are running with that default memory settings of, well, very low numbers, and I've changed that, and so now when we restart them, they have the higher memory settings. So the real Siebel Tomcats then. Okay, and let's reload. Yeah, so and again, if you reload and you have saved your configuration, you can import it by pasting in the JSON. So we have that saved here. Let's copy paste that and import. So let's just verify it. Yeah, that's the configuration we entered. Let's verify again. Again, there's nothing here, and this is good. And we can start or dry run, which is dry run is generating curl statements for Windows. You can amend them for Linux as well, and save that if you want to run it from command line. Save that as a separate text or command file for Windows. But we're not going to use that option, just showing it here as a feature of enterprise-a-gogo. So all the steps as curl scripts for Windows. Linux has slightly different syntax, but we are going to run, now we have to reload again and import. Okay, and now we verify one more time and hit start, and that runs from the browser. So all the REST calls to the gateway REST API, they go through the browser session here, and you see the progress, and you'll see a high-speed version of that, so the real process takes a bit longer. So you see it does the Bootstrap steps, so registering the cloud gateway, create a security profile, create a gateway registry, the zookeeper. So that's done fine. Creates an enterprise profile and deploys it. Then goes about creating a server profile and starts to deploy it. Now, with the Siebel server deployment, that takes a long time. We have 2 languages and we have 3 component groups, and unfortunately we have a meager laptop machine hosting that VM. So that actually takes a long time to start the server, so you can use the task manager to verify that. Eventually the startup on this machine where I recorded the demo took a little bit too long. So again, we're fast forwarding. So the server was deployed just fine. And there's a cooldown phase, which was too short on this machine. So this is just happening on, a modest machine. So you see this, the components are still starting up in the task manager while it tries to do the next steps. So it goes fine through the AI, profile creation and deployment. Despite the server still running, it doesn't need the server for that. Of course, the resources are overwhelmed right now. The CPU is glowing white hot. But AI deployment finishes. And migration profile creations, there's a problem here. So I have stopped the script here. And I've just waited for the machine to cool down completely and then import the configuration, verify again, so you see what actually has completed successfully. So it has completed migration app deployment. And once the machine is cooled down and the Siebel servers really started up, you can just restart it from that step. And now it creates the migration connection and goes into the final optimization phase, setting components to manual start, setting safe mode credentials. So it was a bit interrupted, but eventually on a potent machine, this runs just fine. It prompts you with some URLs at the end. So let's hit that call center URL. And since call center is deployed on the server, we should be gifted and rewarded with a login page. There it is. Let's log in for the first light session, so to speak. And here we go. Object Manager is fine, is up and running. The new Siebel database is just working correctly. We have a runtime repository that works. And let's verify the version using technical support. For good measure, 22.4 was installed in this video. So yeah, that's a good thing to have. Thanks for watching. Make sure you watch the other videos. If you haven't, make sure to watch the next video in this series. Thanks and bye-bye.
Hi, it's Richard.
And I'm Alex. Welcome to the Siebel Hub Learning Experience.
Get ready for Siebel 22 with the most up-to-date modular training course available. Learn more with clear, precise instructor presentations.
Team 2 has a mid-level release they want to push to integration test and then incrementally migrate that content to the test database.
Learn better with comprehensive exercises and demonstrations.
Now the next step to be executed is the business service, and we can click Simulate Next. This executes the business service, and we can inspect the output in the workflow process data panel.
Learn faster with high-quality course materials. Go to SiebelHub.com and start learning today.